Mesechta Menochos, Daf Tzadik Vav, Amaral, the handsome guy is here. Okay, we're starting right now. Morty, ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Chaviti Kohen Gadol. What is Chaviti Kohen Gadol? Kohen Gadol brought a tamid in the morning, half of a yisarin in the morning, and a half of a yisarin, that's a measurement of dough at night. Lishasan, the kneading, arichasan, and the forming, bafiyasan, and the baking, bifnim had to be done in the Azara. You couldn't do all these preparations at home. You have to be inside the Azara. Says the Gemara, I just want to bring up a point over here. It says bifnim, and we said by the shtei halechem, right?
Yeah.
And by the lechem apanim, it says it can be all the preparation can be outside. What's the difference? So the answer is there were two types of measuring cups. There was a measuring cup that measured a full isarin, and then there was a measuring cup that was a chatzi isarin. The one that was anointed to become holy was the chatzi isarin. So therefore, once it was placed in the vessel, right? Yeah. And that vessel to knead, you cannot take it out because that half a vessel had kedusha. It was anointed. It had that holiness. So that's why all these preparations, since it was already put into this chatzi isarin kli vessel, it became holy. And once something's holy, there's a psul yetzi. You're not allowed, there's a psul to take it out. Isarin, why didn't they anoint it? So Rashi says over here, because common people use that kind of a measurement as a measuring kli, the isarin one, the bigger one. That's the normal measuring kli. And sometimes people measure it and think, oh, it's nothing, it's just a regular vessel. If it was anointed, they might take it outside and be oivam psul yetza. Okay, so that's why they never anointed the common kli. The only one that they anointed was the chatzi isarin.
That was like a
special measurement. It was unusual.
Right,
people.
It was unusual,
So by Chaviti Kohen Gadol was done by chatzi isarin. So it had the kedusha. So that's why all the preparation had to be inside. Shtei halechem, lechem apanim was done into the isarin, which was not anointed.
Lechem apanim you could do outside.
The dough, the dough was able to be.
But that wasn't from any. Lechem apanim was just the kohen would bake. Who baked it?
Yeah, the kohanim. Yeah, right. Sure, but they did it. They were able to prepare outside because it was isarin. Okay, so the Gemara Deiches Shabbos, it could override the Shabbos. With Deiches Shabbos because you couldn't bake it before Shabbos. Because once you baked it in that kli and it became holy, something that's holy and it goes overnight, it's psulina, it's called psul for going overnight. So therefore they couldn't do it out of Shabbos. That's why they had to do it after Shabbos. You have all these people today, they shave, right? The second half.
Right.
But when does it start? Aleph year. So could they shave today? So there's a cloud. Anything that you cannot do on Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, then you could do on Shabbos. But here, this you can't cut the beard, you can't do. So others are matter to cut even.
Yeah, I thought
no, they have split. Some say the first day, some say the last days. Okay. We don't do any of the days, and we don't do Evachal. We don't cut our hair any of the days, even in those days. Okay, those are Shabbos, overrides the Shabbos. Chinasan and the grinding, and the sifting. That cannot be the Shabbos, because that can be done on Erev Shabbos. There's no reason why it doesn't become holy by sifting and the grinding. It never went into a kli to become holy. It's like by a bris. A bris you can do on Shabbos, but whatever you can do before Shabbos, like carrying the knife and everything, has to be done before Shabbos. You can't do it on Shabbos. The bris itself has to be done on Shabbos. Anyway, Rabbi Akiva, a rule Rabbi Akiva said, any halacha that's able to be done on Erev Shabbos cannot override Shabbos. It should be done before Shabbos, like the grinding and what did he say? And the sifting. Right. These are not holy.
So the preparation for the.
So the preparation is no problem if it goes overnight. It never went into a vessel, so it's not the Shabbos. But what's if it's the kneading, which already became holy? That has to be done Shabbos because you do it at Shabbos. You have the psul of overnighting the holy food. So says Shabbos, but if it's impossible to do Erev Shabbos, Shabbos overrides the Shabbos, like I just told you, that you cannot knead. The knead was in a kli that made it holy. You can now bake it on Shabbos. because it was already puzzle from Erev Shabbos. It became, it was overnighted. That's why we do it on Shabbos. Kol ha-Menochos sheyesh behem ma'aseh kli b'fnim. All the actions or preparations, the kneading, the forming, the baking, have to be done in a kli inside the hazara, that which makes it holy. And you cannot do it in a kli outside the hazara. Okay. Shtei alechem. Now we're going to the Shtei alechem. How long and how wide was it? Shtei alechem akum shibet tvachim.
Okay.
Was 7 tvachim long. Berachmam abba tvachim. It was 7 by 4. What can I say it? And then they would make like horns. They would take off pieces and add to the corners. That's what they did.
Of the lechem.
Of the bread. They put the corners on the 4 corners of the bread. Even though it wasn't exact, it was like rectangular. It was 7, but by 4, but square. So they added on the 4 corners.
The water looked like a mizbech?
No, they just they added corners. Okay, then he says, how big were those corners? How about its space?
They weren't braided like today's scholars?
No, it was four finger breadths. That's how long the corners were, big the corners were. Now, lach mapanim, arkam asar tvachim. The lach mapanim, the length was 10 tvachim. That's long. 10 tvachim. It was 10 by 5. Sure, the Karnim ate them. Shabbos to Shabbos, miracles. There was a miracle with the lach mapanim stayed fresh. Smoke was coming out of it. They used to go out and just show the miracle of the lach mapanim. They would come to the door to show Klal Yisrael how Hashem loves you all. Look, he's doing miracles, especially you. Fresh bread.
So when do they eat it? Every Shabbos?
Every Shabbos. Every Shabbos they would take off the old ones and put on the new ones. Okay, says the Gemara. So it was long 5 by the width of 5. And the corners there were 7 finger breadths. Okay, big. In order that you shouldn't make a mistake between the shtei halachim and lach mapanim, so he gave us siman. What's the siman? Zadad. Zadad means the length is 7 and the width is 4. Meaning the corners were 4, the dalet and dalet. And the lach mapanim was yahaz. The length was 10 and the width was 5, and the yahaz, Zion, the corners was Zion. Look who says this, Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda is the one that gives the simanim for the makas. The tzach. Rabbi Yehuda haya noisin simanim for the makas with the tzach hadash ba'achav. So you see, he's a siman guy. Others say, why by the makas? I think it was Baganowski writes, why by the makas did he give a siman? Right. So it says, he writes as a joke. He says, because if there's no siman after the mark, if you don't have a mark after the mark, it's not a market. That's why you have to give siman to tell you. It's a joke. Okay. Huh? Okay. Oh, thank you. You use the Menhagim on the side. Okay, great. Ben Zayma says, when the Sat al Shulchan, place it on the Shulchan, there's a table, the Lechem Panim, Lefnei Tamid. Lechem Panim, Shehei Loi Panim, that there should be walls, Mikan or Lakan, and there should be corners. Okay? Al Shulchan Arkei Asar Barach Chamisha. The Shulchan was 10 Tvachim long and 5 Tvachim wide. Where does he get these numbers? Because if you look in the Torah, it says the Shulchan was Amosayim. Right. Arkei, 2 Amos in the length, and in the width was Amarachbai. Here he's learning how many Tvachim is Amma. Here he learns, the Tanakama learns that it's 5 Tvachim an Amma. So therefore, in the length it was 2 Amas, so it's 10 Tvachim. In the width was 1 Amma, it's 5 Tvachim. Okay, so let's go with that. Noisan Arkei connected Shulchan. So how would he place the bread? The bread was 10 Tvachim, right? So he would place the 10 Tvachim on the width. So the width was only 5 Tvachim. It was 1 Amma. And the bread was sticking out. So what would you do? You would fold it over like this. And how many were left after you placed 5 of the bread of the lechem hapanim? Was 10 Tvachim. Right. You placed, in the flat part, you placed 5, and you were left with 2.5 on each side. So this is how it looked. Okay? It went upwards. because it didn't go all the way 10 tvachim. It was only wide 5 tvachim. So the bent up were 2.5. Okay? And after bent up 2.5, I just want to tell you, then they put on the corners 1, 2, 3. So you'll see it looks like this. But really it was upward. Okay? And the corners they had to make it flat. They went in that way. So tvachayim. So let's go. So they had to do 2.5 on each side, folded upward. That had to go upward. Okay, nimtza. So you find that the length of the bread filled the width of the shulchan. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi says the table was long 12 tvachim. Why? It says it was 2 amas long. You remember? Right. He learns each amma is 6 tvachim. So 2 amas. Yeah. Okay. So he learns is 6 tvachim is amma. So if you go, sure, it's big. So you go 12 like this. Yeah. 2 amas. So that's 12. And if it's 1 amma in the width, how much is it? 6 tvachim. The bread itself was always 10. So make a cheshbon. If it's 6, you line the flat part on the width of the bread. 6 out of the 10. How many are you left off with?
2 and 2. 2
and 2. Not like before 2.5 and 2.5. Right. It's 2 and 2. Okay, so here that's what we're going to say. And the width was 6. Diagram, correct. But do you understand? It's not. You place the length of the bread in the width of the table, which was only 6 tvachim. Koifel, you fold over the bread. Tvachayim mekan, like you said. You have a little bit of a fold over the 2 and 2. Okay? Says the Gemara, Tvachayim revach be'emtza. And then you had Tvachayim in the width of the Shulchan Kadesh Tehei Haruch v'Neshavs Bahem. You remember how wide was the bread? We said the bread was 10 by 5. Okay. The bread, not the table.
Yeah.
The table itself was Amasayim Arkei, Amarachbei. So Amma is 6 tvachim.
Right.
So it had a tefach wider than the bread. And each side there was a tefach left over. So you had 2 tvachim in the middle. So here you see the separation. You had the 2 tvachim between each bread. Because the breads itself.
Were they on trays?
Yes, they were on golden trays, but the trays were exactly that size. Okay, so here we go. So where are we up to? So he says, why? So why do we have, according to him, so what did the space serve for?
Or extra space.
So he says, in order that the air should go between them. You're going to ask me a question. Well, what did they need air between them? Right. The whole thing was a miracle anyway. It's not going to get, the Hashem made it to the Shabbos fresh. So the Eibush want to do a nest in Teva. It shouldn't be, lechatchila to be semichal on nest.
It should look like it's natural.
And it should look like it's natural. There you go. Abba Shal Leima.
Should appear like it's natural.
Right.
Okay.
Abba Shal Leima, Abba Shal says, Sham, in that space between the 2 zdarim, they had these 2 spoons of frankincense that they placed in between the 2, maybe I have a picture of the old pictures, but they placed 2 spoons of frankincense in those 2 tvachim that was between the breads. I don't see it. Okay, let's go weiter. Sagt die Gemara, so the Chacham said to Abishol, what are you talking about? The 2 spoons of frankincense were not.
Huh? In the Gemara or still in the Mishnah?
No, in the Mishnah.
Okay, the Gemara.
No, Amrullah, they said to Abishol, how could you say that the spoons were between here? It was placed on the top bread. It says when the south it should place it on the top bread. So Abishol answered, look by Menashe. It says, it says that Ephraim was on Menashe. What does it mean by Olav? So what does it mean? It means that he was next to it. So just like you explained by Menashe, it was next to it. Let me see by 24 in these psukim.
Yeah.
When the Bnei Yisrael were, it says that in the tzad of the west, Degel Machna Ephraim, was there, and it says Va'ola Mat Menashe. On him was Mat Menashe. Menashe was on Ephraim. No way, next to him.
Right.
So just like there it means next to, here too it means the baziche, the spoons of the frankincense were not on the top. It was next to it, even though it says al. It says Gemara V'Abbas Snifin Shal Zah Yisham Mefetzal Merashayim and Shayisem Behem as Allah Shalo Yishaver. These are called snifin, boards on the side of the. There were 4 boards. Let me.
Like 2. Oh, 2 and 2.
2 and 2.
Yeah.
If I have a good picture, I hope I am. But you understand what I'm talking about. There was 2
so
boards.
the racks and the trays went in the racks.
Right. Where do you see it?
Well, those are the trays, and these look like it's racks.
Boards. These are boards.
These
boards.
are boards. Yeah.
So there were 4 of these boards
Right.
for each set of 6 trays.
And then, look, those
2 and 2.
Right.
There was 6 trays and another 6 trays. 2 boards and 2 boards. Okay, so it's 4 boards. Okay, so he says, and that kept the support. Says Gemara, Shnayim l'sei dezeh, Shnayim l'sei dezeh. 2 boards were for the 6 breads on one side, and 2 boards were on the other side. And there were 28 half metal poles, kachatzi ogel cholo, like kachatzi kana cholo, like half hollow round bamboo.
Okay.
But it was made out of iron. 14 on each side.
Oh.
There were poles. So between each bread, they put beneath it poles for the ear to go through. So
right.
yes, 2 or 3 poles they had. 3 poles they had. If I can show you, if it goes fast, I'll show you.
It showed right here. On this one, there were 3 poles over here. No, those are not the poles?
Not like that, but if I could...
Those are not the poles?
Those are the poles, but you'll see a better picture.
Here? No.
Here. You go back here, you see
back.
they put...
Okay.
These others say this is how the form of the bread is. Here, 1, 2, 3. Each bread had 3 poles above it. Okay?
On top of the bread.
On top of the bread.
Oh, it didn't
So
support
between
the
the
bread.
breads, it didn't... Not really,
I thought it
it's
supported
just...
the tray.
It's
What held up
the
the
breads
tray?
were sitting on each other. But it was really sitting a little bit on the poles, stuck out a little bit. It sat on the poles.
I thought it was on the
And it was
tray.
a half a pole, so the ear went through between.
Got it.
Says the Gemara, so they were 28. Okay. They would not place the poles on Shabbos, nor would they remove it. They wouldn't override the Shabbos because you couldn't take off the bread. It was so tight, the poles, it hardly took space.
Right.
So in order to move out the breads, you would have to first take out the poles. Or when you put in the bread, insert the new bread. It happened on Shabbos. Or when you insert the new bread, you would have to put in the poles. No, on Shabbos they placed it on one on top of the other. Sunday they placed in the poles. And removing the poles on Shabbos, they didn't do. It was done before Shabbos. You can't do it on Shabbos.
Okay.
Says the Gemara, El nichnas be'erev Shabbos. He went in Erev Shabbos, but before they could take out the bread on Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos they removed the poles. And they would take it. And then, and when would they place the poles on the table? But say Shabbos, after Shabbos. Okay, Kol HaKen Shabbos Mikdash, all the kelim that were in the Mikdash Arkam La'arkish Halbayis. All those poles that I told you that were under the breads, how would they place it? According to the length of the shulchan, going from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, or according to the width, Durham to Tzafis? So he says, the length. The length was longer. And the poles, when all the poles were placed under the table of the length of the table. We said,
now, right?
yes, Zag the Gemara. Let's say, Zag the Gemara. All the menachos, their actions had to be done in a keli inside the Beis Hamikdash. Shalas Rabbi, they asked Rabbi this halacha. Zu minayim. How do we know that the mincha had to have a kli, and the kli that was mekadosh it? Says Abalahem. He answered to them. How do you know? It says in the pasuk in Yecheskel. It says Vayemi Alai Zah Hamak Masha Yivashlu Sham Kahanim. Hakayanim Zachatz V'Hashim. Hashem said to me, "This is the place where the Kahanim should cook the Chatz Hashem, or the Hashem the Chatz. I'm sorry. Asher Yefres Amincha and they should bake the mincha levilti haitzeh lachatzat hitzena, not taking it outside the outside chatzah. So we learn out mincha dumiyad ashman chatas. Mincha has to be similar to the ashman chatas. Ma ashman chatas tunikli, just like the ashman chatas, the mice of the ashman chatas had to be done in a vessel, in a keli, because the pasuk says ashi yavashlu. Cooking is in a kli. So too the mincha to in a kli. When you're preparing the mincha, it has to be done in a kli. Says you want a shulchan okay asar. He said the shulchan, the length of it was 10 tvachim according to Mandama that says it. Amos 5 tvachim. It's the pasuk is Amasayim Arkai. He learns Amasayim in tvachim is 5 and 5. It's 10 tvachim. So you want
the opinion is 6 tvachim, right? So
very good.
Right.
And it's negated to know that. You'll soon see now. Rabbi Yechanan said, according to the one that says tvachim mechza, koifel. According to the one that says it was, that you folded over tvachim mechza because it was short 2.5 on each side. So if you went up 2.5
you
tvachim,
needed more space between each.
No, you folded it up.
Right.
So now it's up. The bread, this bread on the bottom tray goes up how much? 2.5. How many trays did you have going upwards? 6. 6 times 2.5. 6 times 2.
12.
6 times a half.
It's 15.
Very good. That's what he's saying. That it was 15 tvachim. It was mekadosh. The shulchan was mekadosh so high, 15 tvachim high. That's what he says. According to the one that says it was 6 tvachim, so it was left over 202 on each side.
It's 3 tvachim shorter.
Sure, very good. Okay, tvachim kefil. Up to what height? You just said the number. Shneim as 12. Shneim as tvachim l'mayla. Up to 12 tvachim high. In fact, how could you say that? It's more. Economy. Remember, we said we placed poles between the bread, the half of poles that you get here in between them, right? So it was higher. It says kanim shakui mishakalo. He said no, those poles, half of poles, was sunk into the bread, so it didn't take space. It was engraved. It was said from the weight. It says the Gemara, my time. What's the reason? What do you need these poles for?
Right.
He said in order that the air should go between it, shouldn't get fashimot. How do you say fashimot? It shouldn't get spoiled. Okay, safe. Says the Gemara, come out lechem, because there was no space. He says, what does it help if you're saying it was engraved? So the bread, the rest of the bread, flopped over in all those areas where the poles weren't. So it would have gotten moldy from sitting and the moist and everything. Yeah. So he says, what does it help putting those poles? And you want to magalei purta? Yeah, he says you're right. It wasn't mamash. It kept it above,
just a little bit
above, a cinch. So what are you saying? It's only 15, only 12? Soggy. And also, but he says it's moldy also.
Okay.
So he says, but
soggy and moldy.
Moldy. Okay. So he says it should have been higher because the poles brought it up a little bit higher. So even if you say it's a tiny bit, so it's not 15, it's a 15 and something. It's not 12 and something. So he says, even though you have a tefah, since it's not the size of a tefah, we don't count it. It's like Shmalai's Papa said, we should have got rid of the pennies. Pennies. Okay.
Now they
got rid of them, yeah. But there is the spoons, according to the Mandama, that says they placed the spoons of the frankincense on top of the top bread, okay. So it was higher, it was Makadish. Says the Gemara, no, it was sitting in the bread. You remember the bread came up on the sides, and then you had the corners, the 4 corners, it looked, here, perfect. See how the 4 corners, these are the corners.
So that's how the bread looked efficient?
Yeah, the bread was really here. Then they added corner pieces here. So he says, and then they placed the vazichin, it was inside, so it didn't take any space.
Uh-huh.
So he says, he says, but you had the corners. So if the corners went up, he thought that the corners were not going this way, it was going to go up. 4 corners up, so then it's even more. So he says, the corners they bent in, like you see in the picture. It was bent in. It wasn't on the top, straight up. Correct.
So you say instead of it folding And then being quartered on top of the pole,
Yeah,
and then the quarters were facing down.
Now he's saying the corners are facing down with the
Which takes up less
doesn't
space.
take. It's
Right,
now
if it was
stayed at the height of
oh.
2.5 or 2. That's it.
Right,
They stuck it on the sides.
Got it.
Okay. Zag the Yimara Vayika Misgarte. Says the Yimara, but there was a frame around the table. If you look at the table, you see this frame?
Yeah.
It was a frame. And it was exactly that frame. The breads didn't fit on it. It had to go exactly on top of it. And the frame took up space. It says, he follows Mandiyama that it was, the frame wasn't on top of the table, under the table. Okay, perfect. Mandiyama Mizgarte Lamaila. According to Mandiyama that it was on top of the table, Haisa. So he says, Pakude Hava Miparkada. It was the way the frame worked, it started, let's say, in the width. It was a 1 amma, but the frame started off on 1 amma, but it went like this, like a molding on the top of your ceiling, all the beautiful moldings there in your house. Versailles, by your house. So he says, the moldings come out on a slant. So here also, it started with 4, with 5, it's 1 amma in the width, but it was slanted, so it fit in. So you might, where we up, so lechem gavei the shulchan haviyasa. So the lechem did go inside the shulchan. So you want to Tanya like Melin Terabaisa. That what does it say? He says there wasn't the support, like we said, 4 boards. This man says there was no 4 boards. Rather, mizgat shal shulchan mamet salachem. He says that the frame around the table that kept all the breads in order, the first breads, and the other breads sat on it. So what do we see here? So they argued with him. No, you needed the boards. Why were the boards there? Because they held there was no frame on the frame didn't go upward.
Right.
The frame was on the bottom of the table. That's why you needed the 4 boards. So that's why you needed 4 boards. According to the Mandiyama that says the Mizgarte, the beautiful ornaments, those that crown that was on top of the table, they say it was on the bottom of the table, that ornament. So now you have a flat table. A flat Shukya H is not Makabal Tumah. But if it's
it says in the Chumash.
It doesn't have, it's not.
They built a shulchan and they had a back.
A Mizgeres. Yeah, but as a Machlekes, where did the ornament go? The frame on the top or on the bottom?
Facing down.
Now we're going according to the one that was on the bottom. Okay. So the table is a flat table. It's not Makabal Tumah because something that's flat, Shuti Eitz, is not Makabal Tumah. So we got a problem here, right? So he says that there's a daya that says that if it's a real wide table where you could place cups and food, then it's considered like a keli, even though there's no inside to it, but it's big. So that's what he was asking. Tabla hamisapeches. It's a table you have. What do they call the snack tables? Or you can use it for meat and milk. It turns out, it flips over to 2 sides. So he says the same thing here. A tabla that it turns over. So 1 minute. So it's Makabal Tumah, right? That's Makabal because a daf that's used from both sides. So it's Makabal Tumah. Even though B'derech Klal Kli Eitz is not Makabal Tumah, if it's just Pashut, there's no handle, so it's not Makabal Tumah. But if it's wide enough, we say it's Makabal Tumah. So we have to ask, according to Mandava that says there was a Mizgeres on the top. So we have so what does it mean? Tabla Misapeches. Is it Makabal Tumah or not? Because it wasn't Misapeches, it didn't turn over, the frame was on the top. So you can learn out from here. According to that mandama, you cannot learn out that a pshuta eitz, something that's not without a handle, that is something that's very wide, that it's makabel tumah. Only if you learn that the frame was on the bottom. But if the frame was on the top, you can't learn that out because first of all, it's a kli, there's an inside, so you don't have the case, the scenario of pshuta eitz, which means There's no handle, no nothing.
Okay.
But if you learn like the first way, you have a raya. So miklal shulchan bar kabelit tumihu. But from this whole Gemara, what do we see? That even the pshute eitz, like the table, the shulchan, it is mekabel tumah.
Should mean just plain wood.
Plain wood.
No
But if it's wide enough that you can put a lot of stuff, it seems like from the shulchan, we know the shulchan is mekabel tumah.
Right.
So you line up pshute eitz. Says Gemara, how could you say that you have a raya that the that pshute eitz is mekabel tumah? Clay eitz ha'asel nachasul. I'm sorry, it's not. You can't bring a raya that's mekabel tumah. It shouldn't be mekabel tumah. Why? Because anything that's fixed in its place, the whole kli eitz ha'osib lenachas that's made there to stay permanently ain't mekabel tumah. It's not mekabel tumah. How do you say that a kli that the shulchan is mekabel tumah? Says Gemara, my time. What's the whole reason that kli eitz that is which is fixed is not mekabel tumah? Because it has to be dumya de saklina. It has to be similar to like a sack. Masak metaltal, just like a sack you can move around. Mala, you can fill it up. Reikon, you can empty it out. Avko metaltal, so to anything moves around. Mala, you can fill up. Reikon. So anything that's not in that chuna that you can move around and fill up, and take it around, then it's not mekabel tumah. And we from this Gemara it's mashma from the shulchan. You want to bring a raya that even though it's a flat piece of wood, it's mekabel tumah. It shouldn't be mekabel tumah because it was fixed in one place and it has to be similar to a sock. So you want a shulchan nami hayimetalto mali bereikon. The shulchan also was moved around. Where do we see that? Reish Lakish, like Reish Lakish, Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish had said, what is this that the Torah writes that the shulchan should be pure? He says miklal. From this, it's understood, tummy, that it could become tummy. Right. So how could it become tummy if it was fixed in one place? Only the pasuk has come to teach you. The Kohanim would lift the shulchan. Are going to show those that came to be oila regal, and they would show them the bread, the face bread. Look, how Hashem loves you all. Look what kind of miracles Hashem is doing for you. There was a great miracle that was done with the lach hapanim. See, look, when they would take off the bread from the shulchan on Shabbos, a week later, it was just as warm and heated when they placed the dish. Like it says, it says that the bread remained warm like the day when they placed down the shulchan. So you see, they moved the shulchan around. Right. So it's a movable item, so it's not fixed. So that's why it's able to be mekabel tumah. In fact, says Gemara, what do you mean? How do you know that the reason why it was mekabel tumah because it was a movable item? Say it's mekabel tumah because it's gold plated. The metal is mekabel tumah. Right. It was covered with wood. And what do we go according to the cover or according to the wood? The wood was covered with the gold. So you want to mean like, have we not learned in the Mishnah Hashulchan Adulaki, the table and the dudliki is a folding chair that's made out of leather shenevchas that broke. Something that breaks is no more mekabel tumah. Oy shechipon, or was covered with the stone. Something that's covered with stone is not mekabel tumah. Veshiba hem makam hanochas cases. But if in the broken part, or if in the part where it's not covered with marble, was enough space to place cups, right, to make him, it's still mekabel tumah, even though it was broken. That's not enough. You can't have it only enough.
Right. If it could become a kli after it's broken as a kli, then it's
still a kli. It's still mekabel tumah. And if Yehuda says just enough for 4 cases, not enough, you need more, a little bit more. You need to have also, besides the cups, you have to have also place to place bread and meat. Shir, if there was enough place for that, then these kalim will be mekabel tumah. Loi shir, loi. But if there wasn't enough left over, it's not mekabel tumah. So you see, because of the plated on the table, right? Yeah. You consider it as a keli. So the tzipui is considered as a keli to be mekabel tumah. It's just a space. It has to be, if it's broken, it has to be enough. Chite Makan B'tzipui Oimed. You can say, okay, this tzipui by the shulchan wasn't mekabel tumah. Why? Because only what kind of tzipui is mekabel tumah? Something that's fixed in, it's nailed in, the plated gold. Kam b'tzip she'eina oimed. But in the Beis Hamikdash, the shulchan that was in the Mikdash wasn't connected with nails that it should be, the plate should be fixed onto the wood. If the din by shulchan and the dubakin, do we go after the plated or not? So he says, "B'tzipui oimed or b'tzip she'eina mayit." They asked him, does it make a difference if it's the plated is fixed to the wood or not? Or another kasha, b'shechipa as bills was in, or b'shaloi chipa as bills was in. Does it have to cover the rims in order that the tzipui should be mekabel tumah or not? Doesn't make a difference if the covering is fixed to the wood or not, even if it's not fixed, it's nailed in. It doesn't make a difference if it covered the rims or not. Either case, we go after the plated, and if the plated is metal, it's mekabel tumah.